BJ Mafia was popping. So when we look back at the 2022 NBA offseason, Justin Zanuck, Danny Ainge, and the entire Utah Jazz front office made one of the biggest moves in its franchise's history and probably in NBA history. They traded away a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 6-time All-NBA defensive team, 3-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA talent in Rudy Gobert to the Minnesota Timberwolves this offseason, and the Utah Jazz got an absolute haul for Rudy Gobert this offseason. They got multiple players, multiple first-round picks, and the Utah Jazz currently right now are the number 9 seed. They're only a game and a half back of the number 4 seed in the LA Clippers as I record this video. They currently have a record above 500, 27-26, and the Utah Jazz are coming off a big win last night over the Toronto Raptors. But the player who's played exceptionally well for the Utah Jazz this season that nobody's talking about in the NBA community outside of Lauri Markkanen is with rookie center from the University of Auburn, Walker Kessler, and I'm here to talk about today why he's going to be a future star in this league. Now, outside of Jazz fans who are all extremely aware of who Walker Kessler is and the production that he's had this season, for NBA fans out there that don't know who Walker Kessler was a former first-round pick in this year's draft who was drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves, didn't even get to play a single game because he was traded in the offseason in that Rudy Gobert trade, and he was sent to the Utah Jazz. And Walker Kessler's been a phenomenal rookie this season. He's really exceeded everybody's expectations, and to me, right behind Paolo Banchero in Orlando, Walker Kessler's been the second best rookie in the NBA this season. I mean, no disrespect to Benedict Mathurin over in Indiana. But Walker Kessler this season in 50 games, and he's only started in 16, but in 50 games this season, Walker Kessler's averaging 7.9 points per game, 7.4 rebounds. He's shooting 71.8% from the field, and yes, this is all coming within close range. We're talking about dunks, putbacks, and layups, but that's still second in the NBA behind Nicholas Claxton, and he has a player efficiency rating of a 21.3. And in his short time in the NBA so far, and we're not even a full year into his career, Walker Kessler's already had some extremely notable games and some huge performances for the Utah Jazz this season. Just 2 weeks ago versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, Walker Kessler had a 20-point, 21-rebound game and a huge win over the Minnesota Timberwolves. And just last night, Walker Kessler had a 7-block game over the Toronto Raptors. He's the only player in the NBA this season to have a 7-block game one or more times, and he's done it now twice this season. Walker Kessler on the defensive end has had a lot of prowess, and you've seen exactly what he's been able to do in terms of his level of production. Walker Kessler's been phenomenal so far this season. But Walker Kessler per 36 would be averaging 13.9 points per game, 13.1 rebounds per game, 3.6 blocks per game. That is insane considering he's only a rookie and he has so much more room for developmental growth, and it is insane to see the level of production that we've seen so far from Walker Kessler. And to also put what Walker Kessler's been doing this season into his proper perspective, Walker Kessler is 4th in blocks per game, 2nd in block percentage, he's 7th in total rebound percentage, and he's 14th in total win shares this season per 48. Walker Kessler this season has made a huge impact on why the Utah Jazz have had so much success. Now, I kind of want to talk about the team aspect of why Walker Kessler's kind of really fit into what Will Hardy and this Utah Jazz team is doing right now. What I've noticed the big difference is from watching Quinn Snyder these last 7 to 8 years, now watching Will Hardy in his first season as head coaches, this offense is a lot more free-flowing than we've seen in the past. With a team in the past like Jordan Clarkson, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Joe Ingles, Royce O'Neal, the entire team, that blender was not as free-flowing. I felt like Quinn Snyder was a lot more stuck in his ways, and especially when it came to the rotations, Will Hardy is a guy who puts his pride and his ego aside. If guys are playing well, guys are playing with a lot more freedom of movement. I think that guys are moving a lot better off the ball, and you see that guys are playing with just a lot more free-flowing action, and that's something that you love to see. And I think it's been a big reason as to why Walker Kessler has been able to flourish so far this season, because guys like Jared Vanderbilt and Malik Beasley and Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson, all of these guys can bring the ball up the court. But on the flip side, that then allows a guy like Walker Kessler, who has extreme, superb athletic ability for a guy his size at such a young age with so much untapped potential, to really dominate inside the paint, use a lot more transition buckets, and to just to really hustle on the glass. And that's something that you've seen from Walker Kessler, especially on the offensive end. I think having guys like Jared Vanderbilt alongside him, Kelly Olynyk, and a handful of others down low really helps open up the game, and it really helps open up the floor for a guy like Walker Kessler. And that's been very clear and evident and on display all season long so far. That's why Walker Kessler is one of the highest leaders in field goal percentage this season, and that's exactly why he's been able to flourish with the Utah Jazz this season. Everybody's extremely unselfish, and that's exactly why the Utah Jazz's offense has been so prolific this season. Even though they're only 27 and 26, this Utah Jazz offense is extremely unselfish. The blender gets everybody going, and the Jazz shoot it at an extremely high clip. The Jazz are 4th in points per game, 9th in rebounds per game, and 9th in assists per game, and Walker Kessler's fit in seamlessly for what Will Hardy and this team wants to establish. And then defensively, we all seen what Walker Kessler can do. I've already talked about his blocks, but it's really his presence in the paint, and that's something that was very evident with Rudy Gobert in his days in Utah. Walker Kessler is already a more polished player, offensively speaking, than Rudy Gobert really was ever in Utah. Obviously, Rudy got better over time, but Walker Kessler's game right now as a rookie is right on par with Rudy Gobert in his best offensive days, I would say, with the Utah Jazz. Now, I don't want to go to that extreme because I would still say that Rudy Gobert is a better center overall in terms of his impact and what he did for the Utah Jazz. But Walker Kessler's having an extremely well underrated season this year that is not being talked about enough. And defensively, like I said, his presence and his rim protection is absurd, and we've seen exactly what he can do, and he's only going to continue to get better with time, especially once the Utah Jazz continue to build up on their wing defenders, something that the Utah Jazz never really did for Rudy Gobert. You're only going to see Walker Kessler continue to thrive. But the way that Walker Kessler's playing, not only just right now, but for the future of this team moving forward, you see the direction and the untapped potential that is still there with Walker Kessler, and really the core nucleus of what the Utah Jazz have right now. You're only going to see Walker Kessler continue to ascend, continue to craft and polish his offensive game, which has so much untapped potential, like I've said repeatedly. And defensively, I think he's only going to continue to get better. I think he's going to be one of the best shot blockers in the league for years to come, and I think Walker Kessler probably by next season is going to be in that top 10 conversation for centers in the game. And I do believe that Walker Kessler will be a future and multi-time All-Star in this game moving forward. Only time will tell. But Walker Kessler, the Utah Jazz have found a franchise center for this team moving forward, and he's going to be a future star in the NBA to come. But Jazz fans and NBA fans, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you guys make of Walker Kessler so far this season? Only about 50 games into his career. And then also, what do you guys project for Walker Kessler moving forward? Like I said, I believe this guy's going to be an absolute stud and a star in this league for years to come. It's only just going to take time for his game to continue to polish. But if you guys enjoyed today's video, man, make sure you guys drop me a thumbs up. It takes 1 second and it helps me on the channel out tremendously. And if you guys are new here, consider hitting that subscribe bell to stay tuned for more NBA content that I do here on YouTube. And make sure you guys go follow me on my socials, especially on Twitter. I'm very active and I'm on there every single day. I also just made an Instagram and a TikTok page last week, posting all of my sports content. Like I said, the link tree will be in the description down below so that you guys can go check out all of my socials. But thanks again for sticking around throughout the whole video. Brett James, aka BJ. I'm out, y'all. Go Jazz, baby. Peace.